Hey guys, today I'll be sharing some helpful tips on becoming sub 30. Keep in mind that this is for essentially anyone before becoming sub 30, so if you're sub 2 minutes, these tips can help you. So the first tip that I have is pretty self-explanatory. It's just having a good cube. So essentially any speed cube is good. If you just go on Amazon or Speedcube shop and just order a speed cube, that will be good. Just as long as it's not a Rubik's brand, it'll probably be very good. If you're looking for some recommendations, I recommend the RS3M 2020 with probably a bottle of lube. It's not that expensive, I would just get it. Or if you want a cube that does already come with lube, I would recommend the Chi MS or the Little Magic 3x3. The reason for getting a good cube like this is simply because you don't want to be locking up, and if you're locking up, it can hinder your times. You will definitely not regret it. I definitely recommend getting a speed cube if you don't already have one. If you already have a speed cube and it's not the cubes that I mentioned, that's fine too. It's not going to hinder your times at all at the level that you're at right now. So the next tip that I have is knowing full CFOP. So CFOP is just the speed solving method that a lot of people use. A lot of people also use a different method called RU, but I teach CFOP, so that's what we're doing. So CFOP is an acronym. The first letter, C, is cross. The second letter is F2L, which doesn't really make sense to me. Why is there why is there an acronym in an acronym? It doesn't make sense. F2L stands for first two layers, and then the O is OLL, which is orient last layer, and the P is permute last layer, which is PLL. So a quick rundown for all of these steps. I have tutorials for all of them. They're pretty old. I might make new ones, but I will probably have them linked in the description. The first thing that you need to do is make a white cross, which looks like this. The next step is to make the first layers by inserting corner and edge pairs into these slots. The O step, or OLL, orient last layer, requires you to know about 10 algorithms for beginners to solve the top face, and then PLL requires you to know 6 algorithms to solve the rest of the cube. For the full last layer, you need to do 4 algorithms, which is much better than the beginner method when you will be doing like 4 algorithms, but you'll be repeating them over and over, which is much slower. So if you don't already know CFOP, you should go learn it before you use any of these tips and then come back to this video. So the next tip that I have is to solve the cross more effectively. So what I mean by that is essentially just knowing some very common patterns, such as these.
So for this first case is this edge is flipped and all the other ones are solved. This takes 3 moves to solve, and the way that you do it is like this. 3 moves from this side. So you should be able to do it like really fast. Should just be like a smooth flow kind of. If you see something that looks like this, where this piece needs to go in here, so maybe you could just insert it here and then do that 3-move insert. But that actually is not the fastest way to do this. The fastest way is to move them in together like this. So put blue on top of red and then move it in and then move this one in. And then this last case that I have is essentially this case, but on the other side. So the way that you do this, like if it's like on this side, is you can just put blue on top and then insert blue like that. And then the finger trick for this would be like that. So really fast, it would look like this.
And you can replay the video to see any of those that you don't already know. You should pretty much have these memorized, and you should use these in different scenarios. If you see that you can set up any of these cases, then you should set them up and then do them. But another thing that's important to solving the cross more effectively is knowing when to misalign the cross. For example, in this case right here, you should always misalign the cross, because if you don't, it's going to take like 6 moves to, not misalign the cross. Instead, you can just do 3 moves and it would be much better. And that would look like this. Yeah, so pretty much just know what you're doing when it comes to doing the cross and you should be good. But one more tip that I do have for the cross is planning it in inspection. If you don't want to plan all 4 pieces, then you can just plan like 3 or 2. But you should try to plan some pieces, because if you're not, then you're gonna have like a 10-second cross. It's gonna be really bad. So the next tip that I have is pretty algorithm based, I guess, which is knowing some basic F2L cases. I recommend in the earlier stages just picking up better habits, like learning how to solve F2L cases more efficiently. So I would recommend learning these specific F2L algorithms.
So when these two are on top of each other and these two colors don't match, then you can do this. and then just insert it into the back, or you can rotate and insert it into the front, because inserting into the back is more of an advanced thing. You don't really need to learn that right now. Another case is this one, and it goes like this. So you have these two don't match, and then white on top. You just do it like this. That'll pair them up, and you just insert. And of course, you should be learning these from both hands.
They're not very hard to learn, just a few of them and you should be fine. But if you want to learn all of them, there are PDFs that have pretty much every case that you can learn, and they are algorithms for all of them. It's pretty good. At your stage right now, if you're just trying to become sub 30, you don't need to learn all of them, just a few really long cases, like for example, this one. So that case is 11 moves, but if you don't know how to solve it correctly, it can take forever and you'll have to rotate a bunch of times, which sucks. Here are a few more cases that I recommend learning.
So another F2L case that is an advanced case, but essentially all the really long ones, like this one, I recommend learning. So this one, you hold it like this and then do this. Now they're paired up, and then you can just do U2 and you can rotate and insert. It's much faster than a lot of other things that people do. This one is just cool if you didn't know it already. So this, when you see this pattern, when white is on top here and then they don't match, this can actually be solved with just triple sexy. So like this.
The next tip that I have is making sure that you're turning as fast as you possibly can. Now, some of this comes down to learning the finger tricks, which I think I have a video on that, but it's not that important. What's important now is that you just try and turn as fast as you can. Whether you have good finger tricks or not, those will come later. But if you don't turn as fast as you can, you're not going to hit that sub 30 mark. This is due to you probably not knowing the cases as good, so you won't be able to have that look ahead that faster cubers already have. Because once you know a case so well that you don't even have to look at it, then you can start doing look ahead, which is why I'm not recommending doing look ahead right now, because there's really no point, as if you don't know the case, then how are you supposed to not look at it? You have to look at it if you're a beginner. Now, the last tip that I'm going to give is just make sure you practice, because all of this is completely useless if you don't practice. So I recommend doing at least 100 solves every day, if not more. You really just want to make sure that you're integrating all of these tips, and then you will probably get a good result. So yeah, those are all my tips for becoming sub 30. If you liked the video, please like and sub, and also bye.